I would like to call on our special guest, no, who in spite of a very very short notice, he unselfishly said yes, and this is para sa bayan, no. And I was so touched when he said, I am willing to do this and share whatever knowledge he has in the industry to be shared to the architects watching right now. I am referring to Mr. John G. Velasco. He is currently the Vice President of Jollibee Foods Corporation for operations. And I would really like to consider Mr. John Velasco to be a trailblazing business executive. He has done creative ideas, no, in order to keep up with the fast changing time, no. And I am so excited to present him and listen and watch him together with all of you, so that he could be able to share, his experience in the industry. Maybe siya na po ang magpapaliwanag, no? But I actually asked him to expound more on the macro perspective of what's happening, no? So we are now being watched by a little bit close to 300 architects who are all interested to listen to his presentation. So if you are ready, John, thank you so much, and we are now ready to listen to you.
Thank you, Architect and Executive Director Joey, for this invitation. And maraming salamat dito sa invitation na to. And it's actually my first time using StreamYard. And buti na lang nakapasok ako kaagad. So let me share my screen. I was asked by Architect Joey to share a macro view on what's happening in the Philippines under COVID-19. So what I'm gonna do today is briefly, I'll be sharing some slides just to share ano na bang nangyayari sa Pilipinas, ano yung sinasabi ng official data, and then second part of my short presentation, I'll be sharing based on experience and based on what is now being implemented in various industries, what can we do? And basically I'm entitling it what we can do and the path beyond recovery. Right now, just to give a background of what I'm doing, I am running operations, sales and operations right now for Jollibee Foods Corporation. Prior to that, I spent 10 years working in telco company. I used to work for Globe Telecom, and then I also had the chance working with the SM Investments Corporation. So prior to Globe Telecom. So I've been around, having been exposed to various industries. So what's happening in the country right now? Quick facts on the economy. It's very unfortunate, no? The reality of the matter, and this is already official data, 2 months ago, the prospect of the economy being able to withstand the challenges of COVID, it was actually positive. It even showed a 0.5 or 1% growth ng economy, you know. Sinasabi nila na kaya ng Pilipinas, we've been growing, consumption spending is very good and we can withstand this. Government spending, lalo na yung build, maraming mga investments, kaya yan. But as of latest, and this is the sad reality of it all, we for Q1 we're already projecting a negative 0.2% decrease sa ating growth rate. So this is the first time in so many years. So just to give context, the last time we've had this kind of recession was around 1998 and then around 2009. But recession is actually defined as 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth. So as of latest, we have Q1 2020, negative 0.2 na po tayo. So, and the outlook for quarter 2, given hindi nga talaga kinaya nung economy natin na being closed for so long. So we're looking at a recession already, and quarter two, what the economists are saying, and even our government statisticians are saying, is that would really have 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth. So Q1 we're at negative 0.2. Anong ibig sabihin nun? I mean, if you'll be asked, anong nangyari? What contributed to this? Of course, obviously, yung COVID. But if you look at our economy, the two major parts of our economy, or what really drives the Philippine economy, is actually, well, number one, yung household consumption, basically spending ng mga tao, and this is around 70-75% ng economy natin in terms of expenditure. The other big chunk of our economy is actually the government spending. Okay, and then if you look the other items that actually make our economy grow, it's gross capital formation. No? These are basically yung investments, no, na pumapasok sa bansa natin, and this yung mga negosyong nagpo-put up ng new business, yan, tawag dyan gross capital formation. Let me have my laser pointer. Okay? And then of course, export, yung mga pinapadala natin or binibenta natin mga produkto abroad, and then imports, yung mga pumapasok naman na produkto dito sa bansa natin. Okay? So I'd like to talk about yung government consumption and household consumption. Bakit bumagsak yung economy natin itong Q1? Well, we know COVID, pero bakit bumagsak? As I mentioned, around 70-75% ng economy natin is actually driven by household consumption. Anong ibig sabihin nun? We all know that this household consumption in large part is driven by OFW, yung remittances from abroad. And if you look at the remittances from abroad, 50-60% niyan are just coming from 3 countries: US, Japan, and China. And alam din natin na marami tayong mga kababayan ang na-repatriate or pinabalik sa Pilipinas, and marami rin sa mga industries na kung saan nagtatrabaho sila are actually naapektuhan. Major chunk of the OFW industry was yung cruise, yung mga barko na yung mga cruise shipping and travel natin. So alam natin maraming pinabalik dito, and then marami din sa mga kababayan natin na nagtatrabaho sa mga bansang to, syempre tumigil din yung ekonomiya nila, US, lalo na China, and of course Japan. So what has happened drastically over a period of 2 months, really tumigil yung consumption, tumigil yung pagbili ng mga tao. And it is as an economy, the Philippines is a largely consumer-driven economy. Of course, unlike other countries, no. If you look at countries abroad, particularly in Asia, ang large driver is industry, services, etc. But for the Philippines, it's really household consumption. Ano pa? If you can see here, yung government natin, yung government spending, it still grew sa Q1, pero in large part because of because of low base previously, malaking nangyari din over the past 2 months. Alam naman natin yan, tumigil yung mga infrastructure projects, no? Yung mga projects ng gobyerno natin. So if you will look at the 2 main reasons why we will be going into recession and why we have negative 0.2 growth na nga po, no, as what happened in Q1, it's because of these 2 major drivers of the economy. Now, this is all is not lost actually, and we're seeing this both from a private business perspective and also from the public business perspective. The reason why I'm highlighting this is that if what's driving the negative growth of the economy is the government consumption and household consumption, economies and the private sectors as well as the government mga nagpapatakbo ng economy, Department of Finance, ng nag-handle ng DTI, etc. They're all one in saying, and we're actually believing this, if we will be turning around the economy, what will drive this immediately, the recovery, is actually the government and household consumption as well. So on the government side, the sooner that the government restarts again yung build program, and yung lalo na paigtingin pa yung public and private partnerships, this will be a major driver to pump prime the economy. Syempre may spending, etc. So it will lead to spending by those involved in these constructions, no, etc., and then infrastructure projects. Ano pa? Of course, yung Philippines, this I hope you're familiar with this. We're actually in a stage that economists and business people are looking at or calling as the demographic window. We actually have a very young population, and over the past 20 or 30 years, it's the period we are now in the period wherein we have more people working in our economy than those who are not working. Okay, so that was prior to COVID, though, no. Although we are seeing increasing unemployment, but we have high hopes that given that there are more people working, what could jumpstart also our economy is household consumption. Later in this next slide, I'll show you a slide which also supports this further. So, a silver lining potentially on the horizon is that if the government can provide stimulus, or kung sabihin ito, kung makakapag-provide ng mga incentives or makapagdagdag pa ng ito yung mga sinasabi natin ngayon, ano, yung ayuda. Yung ayuda na yon, marami sa atin laging pinagtatawanan yan or sinasabi, sana may paayuda yung gobyerno. Over the past 2 months, ito actually mga ayuda nito, ito yung mga stimulus ng gobyerno para tulungang makapaggumastos yung mga kababayan natin, no? So, if there are two elements of our economy that can jumpstart the recovery, it's actually build, and consumption spending ng mga tao. Okay? Why am I also saying this? Just to share, and this has been observed also again over the past 2 months, no? What has happened in Q1 is that probably because Filipinos are worried with what's gonna happen because of the crisis, all of a sudden versus Q4 2019, household savings have increased. Meaning yung mga, and I suppose familiar kayo dito, syempre, alam nating may crisis, alam nating potentially baka may magkasakit sa pamilya natin or magka-problema, mas nagtipid ng mga Pilipino, and we are seeing this potentially as a source of recovery. Why? Because once there's a vaccine, or once we are able to see that the pandemic is controlled, Filipinos actually have savings. And this is actually official data from the National Statistics Office, which is showing that the household share of household savings have increased. So yung binanggit ko kanina, totoo, our economy has gone down, but if the government will sustain its build program, and by the way, I just saw this news yesterday, the government was able to procure around I think $500 million from the IMF World Bank to use it as economic stimulus. So it's actually happening already. I hope the government will be able to use this, no, to pump prime or jumpstart the economy. So that's one aspect. The second aspect is, as I mentioned, consumer spending. Given that there is substantial savings that are now being accumulated by the Filipinos, we hope once things stabilize, we can use this actually to jumpstart the economy. So, yun po, ano? Yun yung in a nutshell, yung nangyari sa economy natin. Oo, bumagsak yung ekonomiya at potentially pwede pang bumagsak. Pero yun, government spending and household consumption are our silver lining to move forward. Okay? I know, and we are in a very challenging situation, and I use these kinds of talks also, I mean, not just to share my knowledge, but not only my experience, but also to, to share, to empathize with everyone, because in one way or the other, a lot of us have been affected. May mga kaibigan tayo, kamag-anak na naapektuhan, marami sa mga kaibigan, kamag-anak, or even mga kapatid natin na layoff or nawala ng trabaho dahil sa ekonomiya or dahil sa pagbagsak ng mga negosyo. So I'm using this opportunity not just to empathize but also to share in my own little way. So knowing what is happening now, what can we do? What can we do? Is everything lost? O may magagawa ba tayo? What is the path beyond recovery? So gusto kong i-share sa inyo ngayon the next few slides. These are the framework and strategies that are currently now being implemented across many industries. Maaring iba-iba yung form, pero in general, businesses, both multinationals and big corporations, are actually using the next few slides as the framework in order to help in our country's recovery, not just to survive but to actually thrive. So quickly, this is actually what I call yung roadmap for rapid response and resiliency. This was developed by both Boston Consulting Group and Salesforce. These are two big companies who are doing consultancies. The company that I'm working with, Jollibee, somewhat has this kind of framework in terms of being able to recover from what has happened to COVID. And I'd like to share this to all of you because I've realized itong framework na to can be used anywhere, not just in the food industry, not just in the manufacturing industry. This is actually a framework that can be used by anyone in order to respond and to be resilient, move beyond what is happening right now. So if you notice, there are three stages for any industry, any sector to be able to move beyond COVID. So I call it, and we're actually calling it, the stabilizing stage, the reopening stage, and the growth stage. Okay. In other companies, they actually call this the short-term, medium-term, and long-term development path nila, or to move beyond COVID. Now, dito naman sa baba, ito naman yung kung meron kang short, medium, long-term na strategies to go beyond COVID, we also have to recognize na may mga elements din yan, kumbaga yung mga maaapektuhan yan, yung mga empleyado, yung operations ng negosyo mo, and more importantly, of course, yung mga customers. Why am I sharing this? A lot of my friends and other people in business have actually asked, so pagkatapos ba nito ng COVID, magbukas na lang kami kaagad? So what I'd like to share is there should actually be three stages that you should be following. And the first stage should be stabilization, and this involves you, regardless of what business you are in, this involves you ensuring that there is cash and liquidity in your business. As they say, cash is king during these days. And not just cash, of course. To be able to stabilize your business, you have to recognize na marami sa mga empleyado mo have been affected in one way or the other. Maaring nagkasakit, or maaring walang trabaho ngayon, or hindi nakakapasok dahil no work, no pay. Pwede silang walang ginagastos, may binigay man ng gobyerno, baka kulang. So if you're in business, it's important to stabilize first and foremost yung mga empleyado mo, just to share, with Jollibee for the past 2 months, I think 1.5 months, Jollibee gave salaries even to people who were not working. And I think as of recent, instead of having a no work, no pay, what has happened is those who are not able to really come, we've given them allowances. And we've also ensured the transport of those who are not able to come to the stores that they are working with. So what I'm saying here is that, of course, first step ng stabilization is yung mga empleyado mo, diba? The next phase ng stabilization is actually yung sa operations mo, kung may inventory ka. I don't know with what kind of business you are in, if it's regardless kung physical inventory man to, or you're in the real estate industry na may inventories ka pa na pwedeng ibenta. Given that the objective is liquidity, you might want to optimize inventory and move it out. Okay. And the next important part of stabilization is actually your customers. This is very challenging kasi nga wala kang mga empleyado, stop ang operations mo, but you have to make sure that kung sino man yung mga customer mong yan, you're able to reach out to them and as much as possible still being able to serve them. So I guess that's the keyword, continuously be able to reach out to your customers and communicate to them the service that na pwede ka pa rin magserbisyo. And nakita natin to, no, maraming mga kumpanya patuloy pa rin na naglingkod, no, lalo na yung those who are involved in the digital sphere, no. Okay, the second phase nung response and resiliency path nga natin is about reopening. We're actually in this stage right now, given patapos na yung ECQ. So, ang main point ko lang dito, if you were not able to stabilize your business, you cannot immediately go to reopening your business. Why? Because obviously, marami ka mga empleyado na naapektuhan, hindi naman basta-basta papasok lang kaagad yan. Siyempre, you have to ensure na healthy sila, safe sila. Diba? Of course, operations mo. You cannot reopen kung marami kang inventory or marami ka pang mga stocks or marami ka pang mga processes na hindi mo na-tweak or na-adjust going into post-ECQ. And lastly, customers. If you did not communicate to your customers over the past 2 months, it's important to do it now. You have to engage and show to them that you're innovating come this post-ECQ period. So right now, we're in this period, and the question is, were you able to survive the holidays or the business closures to be able to plan and orchestrate your return to the workplace? So this is where we are right now. The last, but I think this is the most important part right now, it's not just about stabilizing your business, not just about reopening na nabubuksan ulit yung negosyo and you're going back to normal. No. I'm sorry to tell everyone, but we are no longer going back to the normal that it used to be. Some would say we're not going back to the previous abnormal. We have to accept the fact that there is now a new normal, and it's imperative for all of us to actually grow and reimagine ourselves. With regards kung anumang industry ka, you will have to redefine, reimagine the space that you are in now to be able to accelerate change in the next normal. With regards to kung may mga empleyado ka, what is the future of work for these employees? Considering na na sila yung social distancing would be a norm. Considering that work from home is also a norm. With regards to your business, ready ka ba beyond reopening such that your concept, the concept of your business, would be able to withstand this next generation demands? And lastly, and I think one of your speakers would be also talking about this, how are you in terms of e-commerce? When as before e-commerce is just, or online or digitization is just one of the channels, now e-commerce has become the forefront of what is happening. So the question is, are you present right now in the digital sphere? Because if not, you will not grow. So I'm sharing this framework because you can use this framework across many industries, even in the sphere that you are in now, particularly education. Diba? Have you stabilized your operations? Where are your students? Do you know if they have the capability to do online classes? Reopening. What would be the new processes when we reopen the classrooms? Are we going to have enrollment? Are our teachers, professors comfortable with this new technology? When you talk about Zoom, you talk about StreamYard, are they comfortable with it? Because if not, if they're not comfortable, it's not just a matter of dumping lessons, projects to your students, no? The methods may have changed, but the mission stays the same for educators like you. It's about educating the students and ensuring that they're able to contribute to nation building. So the methods have changed, but the question is, are you able to adapt come the reopening? And lastly, going beyond reopening, how are you seeing education in the digital sphere? Are are the programs, projects, or are the way we are doing things in terms of ensuring or asking our students submit their projects? Are we equipped in terms of it being submitted online? Are we able to interact with them in a more effective manner versus pre-COVID? Are we all digitally equipped? As basic as, do we have the internet connectivity to have the proper interface available for both our students and the professors? So this is a framework that we can all use, and I'd like to share because you can use this to help the country in its recovery. Um, we know that we are seeing that COVID-19 has unevenly impacted various sectors and industries in the Philippines. Just to share, the industry that I am in right now, between distressed or surging, we're actually in the distressed situation right now. And if you look at the y-axis naman, no, is your business in the static or legacy business, or are you the agile or the innovative type of business? So you can actually plot your business or your sector and see whether you'd be able to grow beyond this pandemic. So just to share, no, I was looking and evaluating where education is, no, as a sector of the economy. Right now, it's actually surging because as a lot of people I'm seeing, and I'm actually taking a course now online at the University of Berkeley again, University of California, Berkeley, and I'm doing it online. So I actually, when I enrolled, I thought we would only be 20 in the class, no? But when the class started, we were actually 250, and I said, lahat pala naglipatan na online, no? But I'm putting education here, no, in this quadrant, not yet in the surging quadrant, because even if there's demand for education, I guess for the Philippines, a lot of those in the education sector, I think, as of the moment, are not yet ready in terms of digitalization, in terms of being a digital native. So quickly, ano ba yung digital native? These are actually terms na ginagamit nila na you can actually ask your business, is your business already a digital native or digital naive? Ang ibig sabihin nun, yung negosyo mo ba, comfortable na ba siya, and na-transform mo na ba siya, lahat ng proseso mo, lahat ng mga empleyado mo towards accepting everything being done sa online or digital. So I think we have a lot of opportunities, no, in the education sector to actually lift it towards surging if we could only assure or come up with measures to put it in the digital sphere. I know, however, that a big challenge in the country is about internet connectivity. As I mentioned, I used to work for a telco company. It's a major challenge for us. So one part of the challenge is to putting our, industry or sector in the digital platform. But another is also ensuring that those who are using these digital platforms are actually connected internet-wise and have the capability to interact. Unfortunately, a big chunk of our population, 80 to 90%, is still do not have a very good internet connection, or sometimes none at all. So unfortunately, with COVID, kagaya nung pinakita kong yun, a lot of people in the past, yun nga, sa binanggit kong mga sectors na yun, digital transformation, tsaka na yan, years away pa. But what COVID has done, it actually rammed into how we are doing things. And I think what we are seeing now is, regardless, whether you're in the public sector or you're in the private sector, we have to transform ourselves to grow beyond where we are right now. As you can see, in this previous slide, marami sa mga sectors natin nandito sa dalawang areas na to, apparel business, restaurant business, even yung mga beverage, construction business, they're still not able to, I think, they're still not yet in that stage where they can innovate easily towards the new normal. Even so, in fact, yung mga department stores, we're seeing this would be the next victim, no? And we've been seeing this all along, with Amazon, with Lazada, with Shopee, and with people not intending to go out anymore. I think the department store business would be the latest victim that would go down. So, and these are the other sectors, as I mentioned, and those who are actually doing well are those what we call yung mga digital natives. And you're all familiar with this, yung mga pagkain ngayon, nagpapadeliver kayo sa GrabFood or Food Panda, yung mga shopping natin noon. Dati noon, pupunta kang supermarket. Ngayon, even sa Lazada, pwede ka nang mag-grocery. Even yung Zalora na platform, you can do your groceries there. Dati noon, puro mga personal care lang yung binebenta nila. Ngayon, they've shifted. So I guess that's the keyword. Are we able to shift as fast as we can to be able to recover and thrive beyond this pandemic? So yun, I'd like this slide seems cliche already, no? But the question is, have we transformed ourselves? First and foremost, in some mindset, and second, in terms of plans and execution, are we able to put in transformation initiatives that would allow us to grow? Okay, so I'm going back. This is actually my last slide, and I'd like to share this to all of you. Think about this. Where are you right now? Are you still stabilizing, or are you ready to reopen your business? Are you ready to reopen your business, but you're still questioning yourselves whether you can grow beyond the present? So ask yourselves about this. But at the same time, ask also about how have you taken care of your employees, of the people you are working with? How are your operations? How's your business? Have you handled your inventory? Are there new mandates that you need to impute into how you are running things? What are the next generation concepts, new ideas that you need to inject now? And lastly, at the end of the day, we are in business. We are doing what we are doing because we have customers. If you're in the education sector, your customers are your students, their parents. Are we able to serve them continuously? Are the methods that we are employing able to engage them? And last but not the least, is the education sector we are in, have we pushed it to such extent that it is ready to use the online platform 100% and make it front and center in terms of dealing with our customers? So I'd like to leave you with these questions, and it's all up to you to answer this, plan, and act accordingly. And this is my last slide. We should not lose the fact that we're in a crisis right now. And my message is, let us not waste this crisis and be put down. Okay? Because sometimes it takes an overwhelming breakdown to have an undeniable breakthrough. So I think this is, in as much as we are challenged right now, in as much as a lot of us have been affected, both health-wise and financially, and we may have broken spirits right now, but I'd like to leave you with this message. Let us allow this overwhelming breakdown to reflect and be able to move forward, as I mentioned, grow beyond this pandemic, and have an undeniable breakthrough. So again, to the UAP and to Architect and Executive Director Joey Manalad, maraming salamat po sa inyo, and I hope I was able to impart and share some knowledge to grow beyond this pandemic, and not just survive, but to thrive beyond COVID-19. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Sir John. I appreciate so much the learning that you have imparted to us. In fact, in our posters, I mentioned not a keynote speaker, no, but instead a keynote sharer, because this platform actually becomes an informal way of sharing our thoughts and ideas regarding the pandemic that we are having right now. So I appreciate, no, the sharing that you've given all of us. And what struck me there, tatandaan kong maigi, the three items that you mentioned: stabilize, reopen, and grow. This is not just applicable to the field where you are in right now, but also in our field, not just in the academe, but also in the whole built environment industry where we are now. No, so thank you for that sharing. In fact, in our registration, we have already requested them for their questions for our sharers, and there are two that I'd like to ask you, no, so but not because those are the two only significant questions, no, but the questions that they put have already been answered by your sharing. So I mean, nakakatuwa nga na yung mga gusto nilang malaman ay na-share mo. So there are two questions that I'd like to probably ask as a matter of reinforcement. Number one, you mentioned about construction. No? So maybe it is. Do you have any idea if the slump, the construction slump, will be very long? And
Sige.
the curve that we are all following, no, I'm sure it's going down now, but will it ever recover, and maybe for how long are we supposed to wait for this to happen?
Sige. So actually, thank you, Architect Joey, for that question. I was actually fortunate to attend a briefing, by Jones Lang Lasal on the construction industry. I'll share on that one, on a macro. Then on a micro, one of my franchisees is actually one of the big developers in the country. So I won't mention him none. So pero suffice to say that he's one of the biggest developers in the country, and the CEO, I actually had the chance of talking with him a week ago. And he was actually sharing na there was this meeting of the developers with Carlos Dominguez, no, with the finance, etc. And dalawang views yung nag-emanate. Number one, the question that was being asked is, so pag nag-reopen ba tayo, ituloy lang yung mga construction and gawin lang natin, parang balik lang tayo sa normal. And he was actually telling me na, John, yung mga tinatayo kong building, marami akong mga tinatayong building, mostly naka-design siya para mag-cater dito sa BPO and POGO industry natin, di ba? Kung babalik kami at magko-construction ulit using the old designs na originally nakaplano namin, baka hindi na applicable yon. Bakit? Sabi niya, kasi yung BPO industry, mga tinatayo kong building, dikit-dikit yun eh. Dikit-dikit yung mga desk na yon. So, under this new normal, sabi niya, I have to go back now into the drawing board and see what can we now inject in terms of adjustments in the plans that we previously created. Kasi kung i-construct ko lang siya, hindi siya tatanggapin lalo na yung sa POGO industry, no? Sabi niya, sabi niya, so ngayon, we're going back to the drawing boards. And then second, sabi niya, ang problema ngayon dyan, sabi niya, makapagsimula man ako ng construction ko, sabi niya gano'n, yung mga trabahador ko, marami na sa probinsya pa eh. So,
yes,
simulan ko man yung construction ko, sabi niya, yung mga trabahador, dahan-dahan yan, hindi ko kaagad yan ma-jump start yung construction ko, no? So, and then the second part of the sharing niya. So sabi ko, and this was actually reiterated by the president of Jones Lang Lasal, no? Yung nagpapalis ng mga buildings. Yung second point niya, sabi niya, what we are asking actually in the construction industry to actually ask for some sort of stimulus or incentive from the government or special loans to to bridge us between now and until recovery, because otherwise sabi niya ganon, and this was also the discussion with the experts in Jones Lang LaSalle. Otherwise, what will happen, those that are being constructed now, yun lang muna yung itutuloy. Yun lang
Mhm.
muna yung itutuloy. And then those that have been, sabi niya 10% or 15% pa lang, baka i-put on hold muna yan. And then I actually asked the question I asked that person, that the president of Jones Lang LaSalle and this franchisee of mine, who's one of the biggest developers now, I asked him, bakit? Ano ang consideration mo? Sabi nga, John, pag nagtayo ka ng building, may certain payback period ka na tinitingnan mo yan. Kasi maglalabas kang pera eh. Pero with all these new plans na ipuput in namin, in fact, some of the potential buyers namin and tenants namin nagre-reconsider ngayon. And ngayon pa lang, sabi niya, tinatanong niya na kami, ready ba yung building mo na ita-turn over sa akin in this new normal? Sabi ko, ang sagot niya gano'n, hindi eh. So, this will be additional expenses, and so there will be additional expenses, there will be change in plans, but there will also be delays in turnover to tenants. And all of this would entail cost. So ngayon, sabi niya, Jan, pahabaan to ng PC. Pahabaan to ng PC. Pero ang problema, hindi lang dapat kami ang and I actually agree with that, and not just in the construction industry, even the fast food industry, even other industries. In fact, it was already released 3 days ago that our company took in a substantial loan from various banks to use it as a bridge, between now and recovery. So I guess my short answer to your question is, there definitely would be a significant amount of time to bridge us between where we are right now to recovery, but there will have to be changes to factor in what I mentioned, the ability to adjust to the needs of the new normal, adjust to the needs of the customers, and most especially the requirements of the government. So, yun, may mga changes sa plans yan eh. So, I guess that's my sharing to you and to the rest of the UAP.
Correct. And I agree with that kind of observation. Maybe we'll go to the second and last question before we let you go. I know you are a very busy person handling everything in the operation of this number one company. No, maybe the last question. This is quite striking for me. No, as I review the questions. Although briefly you were able to answer it already in your presentation, but what he was asking is, allow me to read it. Will the new normal eventually revert back to the old normal? I know you mentioned it's not going back, no, or something to that line, no, but ang concern niya particularly in the question is the context of the society. We are affectionate people, no? What about the human side? We cannot even shake our hands. We cannot even hug, for friends whom we have missed for so long. And all this, the human factor, no? How do you see the changes now that we are in this kind of situation?
I guess the answer to that would be the vaccine. Unless we have the vaccine, I mean, ako personally, my daughters, they haven't seen their grandparents actually for the past more than 2 months already. Both grandparents on the two sides, no. But we can't do it. We can't afford exposing or risking their grandparents. And themselves, right?
Yes.
My sister is actually an infectious disease doctor working for UPPGH, and she was really saying na it's the vaccine. Unless we have the vaccine, we cannot revert in the old ways of really being affectionate, etc. And actually beyond the vaccine, because what we are seeing is that after COVID-19, there can be other strains that can come into the future. So the question now is our health industry flexible enough now to come up with vaccines in a short turnaround time? I know in the health industry, when it used to be that it needs 2 to 3 years to develop a vaccine. They're saying now that it will take them 18 months to develop, and that's already a big improvement, no? So I guess, again, short answer to that question is unless we have the vaccine, we cannot revert to our affectionate
Yes.
ways. But I guess
Yes,
the
we can
second,
afford.
yeah. But I'd also like to say, and I've been sharing this, no? In fact, in the company that I work with, it's actually a debate. Some would say that, no, we can go back to the normal. But others, me, I'm of the belief actually that we're not going back to the normal. And there's actually a reason why am I espousing that we are not going back to the normal anymore. The reason is, the sooner that we're able to embrace the fact that we're not going back to the normal anymore, the sooner that we are able to reinvent ourselves, come up with new ways,
Yeah,
new
I like that.
inventive ways to actually, help people not just cope, but come up with platforms, systems, initiatives that will let people, thrive in the normal. And I was speaking actually, about this with the people in my company. I was saying, hindi naman sa ayaw kong bumalik na doon sa normal. It's just that kapag meron pa tayong paniniwala na babalik tayo doon, hindi ka ngayon napupush, 'di ba? To reinvent, reimagine yourself. And at the end of the day, any society survival is actually dependent on people who are willing to innovate and think of crazy, sometimes even crazy ways,
Yeah,
to
out
go
of the
beyond
box.
where we are right now. Yeah. So yun,
Yeah.
Architect Joey. View ko
Wow.
doon.
Thank you so much. I appreciate, no. And I think Mr. John actually said that the slides that he presented can be shared to the architects who are watching. So thank you so much for your generosity, no. It will help us a lot in, trying to review what you've mentioned and shared, because this will definitely help us, no, move and, try to find the way forward, no, so to speak, because medyo matatagalan pa to kung talagang we will still be in denial that this is already happening to all of us. So with that, Sir John, maraming salamat, no. Hindi kita
My pleasure.
makakamayan ng physical, but I'd like to thank you for your sharing. And we have an e-certificate for you, no. So if
Thank you.
the staff could actually project it on screen, there you go. Allow me to read the citation, no. The real plaque will be delivered to you, don't worry, because this is the only way we can pay back your sharing to all of us. Plaque of appreciation is awarded to Mr. John G. Velasco for the invaluable support and contribution as keynote assembly speaker or sharer during the 5th Architects in the Academe Assembly with the theme Recalibrating Architecture for the New Normal. Given this 30th day of May, signed yours truly, Executive Director and Architect Benjamin Panganiban, the UAP National President. So thank you very much. The real plaque will be delivered to you.
Thank you, Architect Joey, and thank you, UAP. Maraming salamat po for this opportunity.
Yes. Thank you, John. I'll see you.
Thank you. Maraming salamat.
Bye-bye.